Welcome to the Gnarly Girls podcast.
What's up, gnarly beings?
This is a loose lipped, unfiltered, raw dogging, stripping down of culture.
No fucks, no panties. This is a labia of love.
We're your hosts, Tony Naj
and Serafina Supernova. And this is Gnarly Girls.
What's up, Sarah?
Hello, Tony.
Welcome to Gnarly Girls. Today we're going to be talking about how the making of grape culture is grape culture and how truly graped we've been in so many different scenarios while trying to make this show and provide it to be a source of entertainment and education for you.
Yeah, this is why not everyone worships the goddess and the divine feminine and does activism, because initiation is real and you do get dragged. And it does make you stronger, but it does not mean that it is easy. And it's also not fair, but I don't think fairness is really the vibe of the multiverse, you know?
Yeah, genocide is definitely not fair.
I don't really think that's how things are working. And then I really super injured. I'm gonna just give everyone a fun little visual on YouTube to make them go look at our YouTube. I sprained my toe yesterday. This is the third injury I've had on the left side of my body in the last 4 months. It was a broken pinky toe, then it was a dislocated left hip. Now it's this foot. And there's all kinds of spiritual messages and reasons about this. Apparently, Kundalini starts in the left big toe. I certainly am having another Kundalini awakening. It's the start of the fall season. We be brought into the underworld to release all of ourselves in order to access our true core selves, whatever. All that shit is true. And also, if I'm radically accountable with myself and I point you back to our episode 17, it's Punk to Let Your Pain Talk, just on a universal vibrational level. The law of attraction and the law of vibration, it's not judging, but vibration does precede manifestation. So when you're in a certain vibration, yesterday I was in a real fucking negative shit mood. You're just gonna call in whatever's right there in the field. The field is responding to us. So that's just been a lesson in no matter what, no matter how hard it is, the warrior has got to stay centered. And I think that's why Joan of Arc had her men be sober, going into battle in the French Revolution, because that clarity of mind and heart, when there's so much collapse happening around you, especially when you're going into dangerous territory, that's what separates the ones who are on the front lines from the ones who are not. So we've been on the front lines and we've been really trying to keep a positive attitude amidst it, but it's been fucking hard.
The Nazis were on methamphetamine.
That's crazy
Yeah, they
and
were taking the.
unsurprising.
Yeah. No, the history of drugs in combat is long and deep and definitely worth investigating, but
Isn't that
Nazis
cool
on
that Joan
meth.
of Arc told her men, she was like, y'all can't do drugs, you can't drink, and you also can't fuck.
So you can preserve your chi.
Slay.
Yeah. All right. We can kind of start with our origin story a little bit and then move into why we've experienced grape culture within this effort. Shall we do that?
Let's do that.
Well, it's funny because even in the beginning, there was a grapey culture happening.
The inception of
Um,
our friendship was within grape culture.
yeah. Yeah, it was. So Sarah and I met at a festival. I was performing at the festival and she
I was just
Oh,
attending.
oh yeah, this was the first year we met. Yeah. So the first year we met, I was performing at a festival, Sarah was attending, and have we ever talked about this on the pod? I can't even remember.
I feel like maybe we've mentioned it because I've talked about how I was a fan of your work before I met you.
Okay, great. So you want to talk about why you came up to me and then I can talk about the next part?
Yes, we share. Sharing is caring. So I was in my Saturn return. I was in a pretty gnarly place. I was really looking for voices online that were saying things that I hadn't heard before, or were just edgy in a way that it was clear that someone was putting themselves like on the chopping block of potentially being like canceled or ruined or questioned in order to move consciousness forward. And so I found Tony's work in, I would say, like 2018, 2019, and then really started engaging with it. Probably like I feel like that's when you started popping up. And then like 2020, 2021, I was like, who the fuck is this bitch? And you were having like a lot of stuff go viral at that time. And I felt like you were offering language and like connecting dots around things that like not a lot of people other than Black people were doing at that time. Like you were just like, here is how all of the things connect. And I was like, la, 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 la. I want to eat this for every meal. So I was like, I know who Tony is. And then actually one of my besties, her name's Sarah Kelson. She's an herbalist plant witch. I think she was the one who actually reached out to you to invite you to this festival. It was called Lionsgate. And she was like, oh my gosh, I think you'd really love Tony's work. And I was like, you think I'd really love Tony's work? I'm obsessed with Tony's work. I already know exactly who she is. But I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to go, whatever. I ended up being there. We both, and now this is like a reoccurring theme that we do play on in our relationship and in our work together because it was such like an original part of the inception of our connection. We were both wearing leopard cheetah print. And I just like saw her do her set and I was like kind of in a bad mood. What else is new? And I was like, but I'm gonna introduce myself anyways. So I went up and I introduced myself and I was like, we're both wearing leopards. So I had to say hi and I love your work. And I like had my dog. Um, and yeah, I'll pass the mic to you now.
Yeah, and I am remembering we've talked about this. Am I on acid?
I truly can't remember
I
anything.
can't remember anything
It doesn't
anymore.
matter because people might start at this episode too, or make them listen again. Y'all should
Make
listen to
them
us say the
make
same
them
thing.
listen again.
Make
Okay,
you
yeah,
you
no.
will listen to us say the same thing over and over again.
It's funny because I am in a vortex of wondering what I have said and what I haven't said and who am I? This
Relate.
happens a lot. This happens. I'm like, what am I talking about? So I think because I know when we talked about it, in the friendship pod.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
We did talk about it in friendship. That's when we talked about it. So I'm going to try not to repeat myself, because you should go listen to the friendship pod. It's a really good one. So I think it's so interesting when people talk about, well, all right, I was thinking about the past lives things and like being connected to people in a past life. And then I was also thinking about the concept of a lot of people who had near-death experiences talk about like the life review. However, what happens in the life review is that you experience yourself through the eyes of other people. So, I mean, this is like, when I heard that, I was like, that is interesting. So, however you lived your life, when you die, you experience yourself through how you treated people.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then that
But
got me wondering, something about the whole Charlie Kirk thing got me wondering. I was like, are we all like, it's like every person that comes into your life, however they treat you is exactly how you treated them in the past life. Are we in this like double helix of like, oh, if someone treats you poorly in this life, well, you probably treated them poorly in another. Like, oh, what is I'm like, why are we just connecting to the same people over and over again? And are we just kind of like double helixing and being treated or treating them as we were in the past life? So this is something do you get what I'm saying? This question I'm asking. That kept me up one night, the other night. I was like, who is everyone just a person I've met before? And if they're mean to me, is it because I was mean to them, in one life? I don't have the
real
fucking
Buddhist
answer.
inception of the mind there.
But I think like I immediately felt a connection, regardless. I felt a connection to you. And I think it like happened on the dance floor. I think, it's funny. I don't understand anyone going to bars. What are you talking about? What are you talking about at a bar? I don't get it. But I love dancing with people and you can really get to know a lot about them. And I think Sarah and I danced together and I was like, I like this bitch. I like the way she dances. I was like, I could be friends with her. And then it was the next year that I came back to this festival that we really connected, and we connect over a variety of things that you can listen to in the friendship podcast. But Sarah had told me about the work that she had filmed herself, processing her grapes in real time. And she was kind of talking about how she was like thinking of making a film with it. Like she had this footage, and the value of the footage was something that I was like, oh, yeah, that's a very unique thing to have, especially in a time that was a little bit before the self-awareness of like self-facing cameras, where everything is like so personality oriented, or you're like, how am I going to broadcast this on TikTok? I think when you were doing it was like at a precipice before people were obviously doing diaristic work on YouTube and stuff, and people had done this in documentary, but it wasn't like the cultural phenomenon that it had become. So I think there was like an innocence to your filming yourself at that time that I was like, oh, that's interesting. Um, which was kind of as you shared it with me. And then also it's like Sarah shared, like, she was like, oh, I had multiple grape stories. And I remember thinking multiple, I was like, what's going on? But kind of talked about this in another episode, how like that it can be confusing. Before I wasn't even thinking about my own multiples, and I was and I wasn't. But I was like, multiple. And then as I was driving home from this like deep connection and this time we had together was when I came up with the show concept Grape Culture as a title, and it being a comedy. And I was like, oh, it'd be so fun to do it with this fun leopard girl with her videos. Like that was kind of how it all began. And I cannot believe that like I was calling it grape culture even like the year before, and I cannot believe how ubiquitous of a phrase this is
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I want you to all just take a moment to meditate and imagine Tony Naj calling you on the phone, being like, I want to write a show with you called Grape Culture. I wasn't even living in a house at the time. I was like living on our friend's land, like in a yurt in the middle of the forest, and my cat had just had a heart attack, seizure, or something in my arms. Like I was not okay.
3:33.
And I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I had also just started performing again after taking about like 7 years off of performing. I had just started dancing again a couple months prior to that. So there was definitely something cosmically aligned. And Tony and I definitely have like some twin soul flame shit happening. Like I'll be on the phone, like bitching about something I'm annoyed about or whatever. And then like within 2 minutes of like saying it to her or like 24 hours or whatever, it's like, whatever I was talking about, like it gets heard across the ether and like something changes, something happens. Like every time we come together, something happens, which is also not always good and easy. There's
No, it's
also
been a
a
lot of
lot of
bad.
intense bad shit that happens. It's like both sides of the universal coin of like you get heaven and hell because they are
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. And I think like so when we started writing Grape Culture, I think one of the things that had to happen was like a complete examination of our own lives, and really looking at all the more subtle aspects of grape culture that had weaved its way into either of our existences, either of our friendships, relationships, whatever. And I think that has been an interesting transition because the more I wrote about it, the more I thought about it, the more you had to be like honest with yourself about where things are with your most intimate relationships. And so then a lot of change has to take place, a lot of new boundaries, a lot of new understandings. And with that, I think comes a certain amount of you have to, it's like, I think about this a lot recently. It's like when you want to move forward, there's going to be people holding you back.
Mm.
And I almost picture it all happening in the pelvis, like, because I've been doing a couple of somatic sessions with people lately, and I always think of these like kind of hands holding the pelvis,
Your twerking
pulling,
looks great.
pardon?
Your twerking looks great, and like your most recent, if y'all haven't seen Tony's Pump the Pelvis, like music video in promo for her Pump the Pelvis comedy stand-up extravaganza happening at Joe's Pub on October 5th, you need to go see it because her salad ass is being tossed. She is tossing
Yeah.
that ass. You are
Tossing
tossing
that
that
ass.
ass. Anyway, sorry.
But you know what I mean? I feel like people hold us back in the hips and like because they're afraid of what it means for them for you to move forward. Right? So like even there was a grape culture in our own lives in the sense of like wanting to move forward meant that there was going to be people's energy wanting to hold back.
So much.
And I think that was something to contend with. But you know, one of the things that I wanted to do was bring the show to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival because I had got it. I had another show that I did with my daughter called Go to Your Womb. And it was a show about like intergenerational trauma that's manifested through parenting, you know, and my daughter played my daughter, but she also played my mother and my great grandmother. And it was really looking at how I was parenting in like direct reaction to how I was parented and blah, 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 comedy, comedy, comedy. So I invited Sarah to come to the show so she could see what my style was like. You know, it's like I like to do stand up in the shows. I like a lot of props. I like sketches, like you know, a lot of costume changes. Like I definitely was cultivating a style that was slightly like clowny and interactive and that was like filled with vignettes. I think I was like heavily influenced by Pee-wee's Playhouse, you know? So like Pee-wee's Playhouse on the stage, but about deeper issues. Not that Pee-wee wasn't deep, but like you know, numbers. So Sarah came to that show so she could get a vibe of what I was up to. And she was like, "Yeah, I dig it." And then it's when the writing process began. I knew I was bringing Go to Your Womb to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I knew I was doing that. And so then I thought, well, let's bring grape culture there as well. And I can basically set up shop in one theater and do both shows.
Yes.
So that was like our goal for the first year was to get to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Yeah. And like having that as like a goalpost was really helpful because it was like coming out the gate, we were bringing this work into a place where supposedly work like this was supposed to be, you know, supported and uplifted. And the story around that is a story we can get into. We also took it to the Hollywood Fringe Festival within that first year. Um, and now we're taking it to the Cannonball Fringe Festival quite literally tomorrow. So, third time is the charm. Maybe it'll be the best fringe yet. We'll see. I have high hopes.
I thought, I mean, like we did have this really amazing time in LA. So the first time we
So
ever
good.
performed the show was at my studio, which I own in Vermont, and it was a very friendly crowd, you know, of like people who know me, people who come to the studio, friends of mine. So like our first performance was great. We had a really wonderful first performance, and then we brought it to the Hollywood Fringe and we had a great time. Like I think the shows went really well. People seemed to really understand it. We had a wonderful tech person. So I think we got the false impression that like this is going to be piece of cake. You know, everyone's going to get what we're doing. We're always going to feel this level of support, you know, like I was definitely believing that like yeah, this is a vibe. And then when we got to Edinburgh, I would say that Edinburgh, this is my personal opinion, is grape culture. Because basically, as an economic force, what happens is that you're exploiting the desperation of artists to fund the festival. So you have all of these people who are just like praying to be the next Fleabag or praying for the opportunity or praying that the right person is going to come to their show and discover them. So they're going to put down like a huge amount of money to basically take all the risk on themselves. So how Edinburgh works is it's a pay to play festival. You get in touch with the theater, you pay for all the tickets, you front load all of the costs. You do that and then you hope people come. And if you don't have like a really good producer or you don't have a support system or you're not funded, you are scrambling to get reviewers, you are scrambling to get audience members, you are scrambling the entire time to get noticed amongst like thousands of shows. But again, it's like you go, and then I mean, I think there's a lot of gaslighting that happens between artists because you spend a lot of money to go and you don't want to admit you got hosed, you got played. So then people are like, yeah, you should go. It's an amazing time. I mean, I would not recommend it to anyone unless someone else is paying you to be there.
Right. And then people, I think artists are also scared, like, oh, well, like if someone hears me talking bad about this, then it's going to impact my career, which, like, that silencing is grape culture. And
Yeah.
also, interestingly enough, Tony and I both were part of our families are connected to Scottish clans. And, like, there is quite a bit in the show in terms of critique around the church industrial complex and religion. And we have maybe mentioned this before on the podcast, but people were quite literally standing up and walking out of the show.
No, no, we have to tell that story of that day.
Yeah,
No,
as we
we
were.
got
Okay, we'll
it. We
tell
got
that
it.
story in full. I also just want to say, like, even me, so I believe fully in spiritual attack. It's not a way to avoid or evade personal responsibility. Like, I don't think I would have started out this recording today being like, my bad attitude called in this sprained foot if I was trying to victimize myself. Like, I fully take responsibility for vibration preceding manifestation. I was like, why the fuck was I talking about that? Because of right now. Our higher selves are always guiding us. And also, I do believe in spiritual attack. How can you believe in the presence of source and goddess and angels and spirit and all of these things and like the earth angel of human beings and light workers and energy and not also believe in like dark forces that do not want work like this to be made in the world because it is impactful and it does shift consciousness. And so like you do have to get into that warrior mindset of the more you try to push me down, the more I'm just gonna rise up through the crack in the fucking asphalt, bitch. So even getting to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, my bag was delayed truly for a week. I didn't get my luggage. Thank goddess,
But
Tony
your
already
flight was also delayed for three
Oh
days.
yeah, my flight was delayed for 3 days, and then my I forgot about the flight delay. Then my bag was delayed for a week. Thank goddess Tony had all the props, and she was doing the run with her kid first for their show. Because I don't think the Dark Forces knew that. They just thought they were gonna like. And the thing is, we would have done the show without props. It's like I just want to say to all the Dark Forces, there's literally nothing you could do to stop us from making the work that we're here to do. And you should be terrified of us because we are terrifying. So, like, there was that also present. And I think both of our familial lineages connected to the Scottish clans, there's also a lot of darkness going on there. Like, my great grandmother was kicked out of the clan because she married and fell in love with this man from Belfast, Ireland, which was like a big no-no on like a racism level of like the Scottish people at that time. And she also was like a self-proclaimed witch. So, there's just some shit happening when we got there. There was some shit happening.
Yeah, so Sarah was delayed for days. She didn't have her bag. We get there, and it was pretty soon that I realized that this is a scam. And again, if you have someone that's funding your project and you have a lot of support, go to Edinburgh. You will have a great time. If you do not have that support, it's going to be a financial loss and it's going to hurt,
Yeah.
you know?
Then you have to drink and be willing to go out to bars in order to network and market because you will not be standing on the street in the daylight handing out flyers to people that will come to your show. The whole thing is like you go out to the bars, you drink, you get fucked up, you make connections, and then hopefully people aren't too hungover to come to your show. Fucked up.
Yeah. And again, all that is whatever. If you have the money to spend and you don't have a grand objective, like that's okay, you know? But I think if like you have an objective and you are not supported, you're not going to find what you're looking for there. That's what I feel. So, and I think that is like the truth. A lot of film festivals, like I found this with like the art world in and of itself is very grapey because it is like you keep having this like very naive expectation that like, oh, if just the right person sees my stuff, then like yada yada. Kinda. Yes, that's true. If the right person does see your stuff, your whole life can change. But usually you're funded already for the right person to see your stuff. You
Yeah, and
know,
are
like
they going to email you back?
yeah, it is like, I don't know. That's a whole other story. We should talk about how art is great.
Art is
The,
great. That's the
the
next
industry of
episode.
art is great.
That's good. We should actually record that in Philly.
Oh, okay, yeah, we should do that. So, long story long, I had the run with my daughter. Um, the
Great show.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to say her name. Tony's kids showed the fuck out. This 14-year-old, like fucking angel. Like, how many show you had 10 days of shows in a row?
No, she did 12.
Well, rocked it. Like, rocked it. And then Tony has a mother every single morning preparing her child to do this thing and like braiding the hair. And like, I was just like, wow. I was like, Auntie, wow.
No, it was a journey to I think it was like I think her and I did 12 or 13 shows and you and I did 11.
Yeah.
I remember you and I did 11. Um, but the reason why I bring up the show is that before, and I think this is important, okay? Before no, we were before another show. And there's like really like a 5 minute turnaround between each shows. And there was like an older woman who was part of the show after us that was like this very like acclaimed London comedian who was on TV, who's like would truly have like a packed house of baby boomers every time after our show. And like I would literally be like cleaning up in a naked suit wearing a diaper as these people were like rushing me the fuck out of there so they could get their like 80, 100 baby boomers there to give them money as I'm in a diaper, okay, in
Meanwhile,
a naked suit.
she was flirting with me. She was
No,
clearly
this is what I'm
queer.
gonna. This was an older woman who was part of this show who was attracted to Sarah, and this is important. She was attracted to Sarah and was flirting with Sarah,
Which
and
I love.
Sarah was telling her to come to the show, and she was really friendly with her, and yada yada yada. So we're gonna get back to this older woman, the older boomer. Then there was another guy who was affiliated with us, who was like working with us, also attracted to Sarah, was like, oh, I want to come to your burlesque shows. I'd love to come to your burlesque and see you do burlesque, which is basically like, I would like to see you naked. It's like, oh, surprise. I never would have thought that.
Original.
Yeah.
You're
So
so
there was
unique.
these two people that like were presenting attraction to Sarah. The first day of our show, we had like a pretty good turnout. We were like, okay, we were feeling confident, confident. And there was this one part where Sarah's talking of, oh, no, 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 no. There's one part where I bring a guy on stage. And I bring a guy on stage in order to like do a living example of what it's like when men hit on women, but I do it with a man, right? You remember? So like I bring this guy on stage. Sarah and I are frat boys at that time, and we're doing a live demo of how to pick up chicks, and we're doing it on this guy. We did this in LA 4 or 5 times. I think we had 5 shows in LA. Never had a problem with this. Never had a problem with this scene. Okay. We had 5 guys come up in LA. It was totally fine. So I pulled up someone from the front, a younger guy. We did the thing. He was laughing. Didn't seem to be a problem. He sat back
By
down.
younger, you also mean like of age. Like he was definitely like in his 20s. He wasn't like 16.
No, yeah, he wasn't. You couldn't come into the show if you were
Right.
younger than 18.
Right.
So I bring him up stage. He laughs. Nothing weird happens. We sit him back down. Then, as the show continues, Sarah has a monologue about growing up. No, no, she has a monologue about well, you say your monologue when you go into the split, just a little for a second, and
Oh,
when you made
yeah.
eye
So
contact with the woman, the
yeah,
girl.
we talk about like the premise of patriarchy being connected to like the father and the men and the male as the ultimate ruler and creator, and that being like the foundation and the bedrock of patriarchy that we've all been kind of duped into this programming. And so I'm essentially critiquing the whole father God situation.
And as you go into your split, you made eye contact with the girlfriend of the guy that we brought up, right?
I didn't even remember that. I love that for me.
And then what did her eye contact say when you made eye contact with her?
I mean, I genuinely don't remember this, but it doesn't surprise me that I would have done
Okay,
that.
so I remember
Great.
you looked at her and she was like, gave you a look and was like, no.
Oh, well, you know what I think? Okay, so when I started doing the monologue about like church and the patriarchy and
Oh, and you
Christian,
called yourself queer.
yes, I noticed that they all started like she and like her group of friends, they all started doing this. It wasn't like I was like psychically reading them. Like they were giving me all the body language that they did not like what I was talking about. And I'm just like this. The moment I clock someone who doesn't like what I'm saying, something like rises within me and horns sprout from my head and I'm like, I will push you even further. So that is what I did. I probably made like really intense eye contact and was like, yes, I actually am talking directly to you.
So basically, then Sarah does a monologue about growing up in the evangelical church. She leaves the stage, and as I come out for my monologue, that's next, the entire front row gets up to leave. The entire front row. It was like 9 people. And we were like, and I just like watched it happen, and I was like, okay. And then we do a little bit
And they were
more.
all like 20 somethings, like
Yeah,
20
they were in their
somethings.
20s. Then, like, a little bit more of the show comes on. I come out to do another monologue. Maybe 10 more people get up to leave. And so then I mean, I do have to say, thank the heavens that, like, I have experience in stand-up clubs because what a hostile environment, like, I've cut my teeth in.
Yeah.
But I was like, people leaving the show is the show.
Yeah.
So, people leaving the show is the show. People not coming to the show is the show. It is all part of the show. So, a lot of the people that were there thought we had staged it, and they were like, brilliant, fucking brilliant. It wasn't what I meant, but like, they were like, oh, that's brilliant art. Now, the other thing that was happening amidst all these people leaving is one of the men who was like affiliated with us, who was a part of bringing us there was very upset. The one who was attracted to Sarah, he was upset. And you could see, you're not dumb. You can see it in someone's face when they're upset, you
No,
know?
he was
So,
mean mugging us. No
yeah,
longer
so
was
not
I
a,
Bonnie McHotterson to this old dude. I was now the threat to his ego.
well, no. So this is what I think. And I'm just going to bring back the older lesbian too, who her quote during the show was, I don't know how much more of this I can take.
Out loud, she said that.
And then she also left.
Loud enough for us to hear.
No, 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 no. Someone heard her and told
No,
us.
I heard her.
You did not.
Yes, I did. I was on stage when she said it. I heard her.
You
1
heard her.
million percent. I heard her say that.
I don't know
Yeah.
how much more of this I can take.
Yes. Yes. Because it was like she
I
wanted to be there supporting it because she liked me, but she was like, like she was obviously she was having an experience.
so just to give it a recap, this is our first show. One of the people who brought us there is very upset. The older lesbian says out loud, I don't know how much more of this I can take before she leaves. And then again, like 15 people walked out as I'm on stage. So I'm going to just tell you my analysis of this from a grape culture perspective is that, especially from the people that were attracted to Sarah,
Ugh, so boring.
Sarah is also revealing her humanity when she's talking about these grape stories. And I think what's very upsetting to people is when you have objectified someone or when you see someone as some sort of conduit to your lust or you have them as a outlet for your desire and then suddenly you see them as a human. It's a lot like a stripper suddenly telling you their real name or trying to talk about their child or there's these ways in which we shut off completely when someone who we've objectified tries to humanize themselves and then it creates anger because you feel like you've been tricked or lied to because it's like, well, when did you become a human? When did you become something beyond what I had positioned you as, which is a plaything for my pleasure, right? So I think the anger that both the older lesbian and this guy had was around wanting to see Sarah naked and then suddenly seeing her as a person and then being very upset.
And like also being naked in a really unsexy way during the show.
Because
Like
we were naked a lot. We're not
we do
naked, but
get
we're
naked.
revealed.
Yeah, and like the tits are pushed up and all kinds of things are happening, but it's like while we're saying things that are disruptive directly to patriarchy and white supremacy and grape culture. So it's we are being intentionally confusing.
No, there's a lot of confusion around body,
Yeah.
body and attraction.
Yeah.
So then after that show was over,
Oh,
basically,
I also had a sty. That was the other thing. I like
oh,
physically looked horrendous because it wasn't just like a cute little sty where you're like, oh, I can, it feels like there's sand in my eye. My whole fucking eye was swollen.
yeah, I
Like I
forgot.
couldn't open it. You see, if you ever see me wear those like colored glasses on social media or whatever, those are all the glasses I bought in Scotland because my eye was too sensitive to the sun and it just looked so ugly. I had to wear the colored glasses for my own sanity.
No, it was really bad. Can I just say one funny story about that? So we were talking, I was like, as a somatic practitioner, I was talking to Sarah about the sty, and she was like, I don't know, I feel like it's from my mascara. And I was like, well, I don't know if it's from like, what were you feeling about yourself when you put on the mascara? Like, why did you put on the mascara? She goes, why the fuck do you put on mascara? Why the fuck does anybody put on mascara? I was like, okay, maybe we'll come back to this one.
And I'm not even like that. I'm not one to snap.
Why the fuck do you put on mascara? And every time I haven't put on mascara for months because of that. Truly haven't worn mascara in over a year. I was like, but it was around beauty, right? And like,
Yeah,
I think my overall analysis at that time that I was trying to talk to you about, which we did talk about, is the reliance on beauty
yeah.
and like how beauty is integrated into our sense of value, which is part of grape culture as well, you know?
Which Tony, as like a mentor and artistic partner, has really helped break me of because you also have to remember like my background is starting classical ballet at 3 and then trying to be like cast as the next Cameron Diaz until I was like 21 and just told I was like too fat and ugly like over and over and over again by grown ass adults. So I really had, and then all of the things I was typecast as was like the hot slut in every musical. The hot slut who dances was always, and then like the childhood sexual abuse. So this programming ran deep, and the sty had to come in to be like, even when you look really ugly, you can still make good art, which is also part of my art. Because part of what I talk about in grape culture is like gnarly skin rashes, like all over me as I started talking about grape culture for the first time when I was making those videos. So it's all connected.
Yeah, the skin rashes are upsetting, and if you must come to the show to see the photographs of the skin rashes that Sarah got when she started talking about
I
it,
can't
because it
believe
is,
that was real.
no, it is
And
horrendous.
I
It
just
is
walked around like that for months all over Duke campus. I just went to class looking like that. I taught class looking like that.
no, that's a living nightmare.
Can
I
you
mean, it's
imagine
not
what
like
my
you haven't.
undergraduate students were thinking as I like showed up with just like truly it looks like like a kid like hits their chin when they like are on a bike, they like fall off the bike or whatever and they get like a thing. So a picture of that, it's like scab but like all around the entire mouth and then every time I ate it would crack and bleed for 9 months straight.
No, it was
So
a
don't
living
talk to me about
nightmare.
the underworld unless you want to talk about the underworld. You want to talk
No.
about the goddess and spiritual awakening. Oh, I'll talk to you about it.
No, girl, it was bad. No wonder why you were snippy snappy about my mascara question.
But you were correct, as usual.
It was just so funny. I was like, okay.
And then I also was on some kick that like what else did we get in a debate about that your kid was like, please stop that
Oh
like
yeah, we got into a debate because I asked like a dumb question about like a would you rather. We were all playing would you rather or something. And I talked about like would you rather something or be the only living person? Be the only living person. And Sarah's like, I'd rather be the only living person. And I was like, that's absurd. And she was like, well, I would talk to the fairies and I would talk to the animals. And I'm like,
be fine.
I'm like, the point is that you would have no one to talk to and you'd be trapped in your own consciousness, you know? And she was like, well, I'd still talk to the fairies and
I'm
I
like,
would still
sounds
talk
good.
to the animals.
I'll talk to the Ascended Masters then.
And I was like, you're circumventing the thought experiment. The thought experience experiment is about being trapped in your own psyche with no one to bounce anything off of. Okay, anyway,
That's
long
because I
story.
needed the healing of your friendship to understand that, like, actually, I would rather not be alone. Turns out not all relationships end in like primal fucking wounds.
It turns out not all relationships are horror. Horror. Um, so at the end of the show, okay, the producer of the show comes up to us and is like, "Yeah, the theater wants to talk to you." Keep in mind, we're in our underwear. We end the show in our underwear, and we had 2 minutes to
Wedding.
clean up so many props. So we're cleaning up all the props. The producer wants to talk to us, and he's like, "Yeah, the people that walked out complained, and the guy that you pulled up on stage, like." He complained and they said that the problem is that like we didn't have his consent.
We objectified him. He felt
We
objectified.
didn't know we didn't have his consent.
Yeah.
And then I'm like on the website it says audience participation and anyone who comes in is
This is how
consenting to
comedy works.
audience participation. And they're
We also
like,
did ask him. Like we asked, like he could have said no. Like there, it's not like we like grabbed him by the hair and dragged him up on stage. It's like a
"No, and also did you see what he was wearing? He was asking for it." That was a joke. So we were like, "What?" They were like, "Yeah." He was like, "You're gonna have to go talk to the manager of the theater about
he was
this."
like 27 years old.
And so, like, not only did all these people leave our show, not only that someone involved with the show was so horrified and angry that he left, like right after, not to say anything, but now we were in trouble. We were bad girls. We were bad girls for talking about Grape and for not having consent in our show about consent. And so
Oopsies.
and we were in our underwear. I think that's also key. And one of the people who left had left their phone, and I had their phone. And they kept trying to track their phone, and I was like, it's in my pocket.
I remember us being in the hallway because we would like pack up all of our shit and then like go into this hallway outside the theater to like put our clothes on. And we were nervous. It was giving like you're getting invited to the principal's office, you know? And we
Oh
did
yeah.
put so much
We
on the line to be there. There was a lot of money invested, there was a lot of time invested. And we were like, are we going to get kicked? Like there was like, we weren't like, well, fuck this and fuck the administration. We were nervous. We were human girls, women nervous.
yeah, but there was a little bit of that as well. I
No, of
mean, I
course. I
think
mean, that's our orientation, but like we were genuinely like, oh fuck.
well,
Not like, oh fuck,
yeah,
he's right. Oh fuck, we objectified this guy. Oh fuck, we didn't ask for consent, but oh fuck, the principal's calling us to their
the
office.
principals, yeah, and that we're bad girls. And that this is like when everyone at the theater, already the people at the theater didn't like the dumb American girls, okay? Like we Americans are not beloved, you
I'm
know?
like, I am
Like
Scottish, you fucks. Fuck you.
no, but we're American,
Yeah.
and they were not that into us to begin with. And then afterwards, we were the talk of the town. We were the Jezebels of the theater, right? Because the people left, we're in our underwear, we're in trouble. We got to go talk to the guy. So we go downstairs to talk to the guy, and he's like, "All right, the problem is that it's about consent." And then I asked him, I'm like, "Are you trying to explain to me consent when it comes to my show about rape?" And he was like, well, I'm just saying." I'm like, "It says it on the website. It's very explicit on the website." And he's like, "Well, not everyone looks at the website before they come to the show." And I was like, "Well, I mean, that's really not our problem." He was like, "Well, what can we do? Because I just," and I was like, "How about this? How about from now on, I just bring up a broom? Because what's the difference between a broom and a human man?"
Not much. The broom actually usually does more.
And he was like, "All right, that's a good solution. You can bring up the broom instead, you know?" He's like, "Well, so we're gonna have to put more trigger warnings all over your show because it's quite triggering." And I was like, "Oh, our show about rape is triggering? Who,
Who would
where
have
did you come
thought?
up with this?" So he was like, well, tomorrow we're gonna have to have more trigger warnings and please bring up the broom, right? And then the next day, he did there was truly, I mean, Sarah can post a picture of it. There was, and this is the thing that's so bizarre, is that this was a public space, and now there was posters all over this public space that says, warning, this next show is about rape. Trigger warning, rape above. If you want to get raped. Like it was
No, the word rape
bananas
was everywhere. And like
everywhere.
our show was up in the upstairs theater, and there was like all kinds of like kid-friendly shows happening in the downstairs theaters. So they had rape signs all over the downstairs where children could then read the rape signs. Like it's such a classic example of people thinking that they're like being protective of the children, but actually they're creating more trauma because they're not in their fucking bodies.
Also,
He
they
never saw the
did.
show. He didn't even see the show.
No,
The
no,
guy
he
was
did.
critiquing us.
He
But afterwards, he came
afterwards.
the next
So
day.
he came that day. But the thing that's also so hilarious is that the theater chose this programming to put us, we were actually after a high school kids show, which is really funny.
Yeah, we were in the wrong theater. That's the other thing. They put us in the wrong space,
But also the wrong time.
the
So we
wrong
were
time.
on after a high school theater. But you know what high school kids need to know about rape? I
Yeah,
don't
whatever.
know.
I would do the show at a high school.
So then we have these signs everywhere, these rape signs everywhere. And we go upstairs and the
Scarlet
theater
letter.
guy did come to the next show. And afterwards he was like, "Oh, well, thank you for using the broom. And it actually is a quite powerful show.
Yeah,
And I
he liked
understand what
it.
you're trying to do here." Like he did get it once he saw it, but
I think he was gay, which gave us an
we
advantage.
never shook the reputation of being Jezebels after that. And Sarah's eye was incredibly hurt. And the other thing that started, why don't you tell about the Scotsman review who refused to review our show? The woman.
Which
You
she
don't
just said,
remember that?
no, which she said it was just like
Okay,
too
so
dirty. No, I think I like
bas-
literally trauma blocked this out.
well, yeah, so basically this feminist writer for the
Oh,
Scotsman came to review the show, and the day that she came to review the show, Sarah read an article out loud because what happened was is we kind of just kept changing the show a little bit, and my mom had sent us an article that this woman had written where she was like, I am a lesbian, I am married, I am doing my show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and it's a really big deal to get reviewers to come. And this reviewer came to my show, and then afterwards, he basically tried to make out with me and make a pass at me in order to review my show. And that literally happened at the festival that we were there. And it was published by the Scotsman, by the same publication that this feminist writer came to review our show with. And Sarah read it out loud. And then this woman refused to review our show.
was she in that show or did I do it
Yeah,
after she came?
no, she was
Oh,
there at that show.
bold move on my part. I do remember reading that article. And I was like, because there was so much that had happened at that point, we didn't even talk about the person who was there. We mentioned him, the guy who was there and kind of part of our team of support that meme mugged us the whole time. And then we ended up having to actually go have like a meeting with him somewhere with another producer we were working with to like sort it out. We should talk about that a little bit as well. All of this had happened already. And so by the time this moment, I think this was maybe like our last couple shows, I was just like fucking fuming. And I was like, this whole fucking festival is grape culture.
Well, I think the other thing is that like the way everyone was treating us was that we were like dirty, dirty, dirty girls
Yeah, who
talking
weren't
about
taking
dirty things.
grape culture seriously, which is
No,
essentially
they
what
weren't even saying that because they didn't even see the show. It was our producer friend who saw the show that said that. So basically, like I had submitted a script. And just to be clear, the driving force of everything I do is comedy. And it is going to be a lot of physical comedy. It is going to be a lot of boundary pushing. And I sent the script. I sent it. And when we basically called a meeting with the guy and we were like, "What the fuck was your problem?" He was like, "Well, I thought it went way too far. like I thought you went way too far. And this is a serious issue. And I was like, first of all, didn't you read the script? Second of all, men have truly been making comedy out of tragedy for 2,500 years. It's a genre of work that people do. So why would we not approach an upsetting topic comedically? It's like truly a genre of work. And he was like, yeah, well, it was it was upset. He was upset.
Yeah.
And then, well, you want to interject?
Well, I want you to picture us like sitting with these two older white men at a table somewhere in Edinburgh, essentially defending the show. I
Yeah.
want you to talk about what exactly you did at that meeting because it was iconic. But
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, especially because this man had done what all men do with me at some fucking point, which is be like, oh, like I think I'm interesting because I think you're interesting. Like, I actually just said this on my Instagram stories today. All these fucking dudes in my DMs are always like, you're such a goddess. And you can tell that they think that they're unique because they think I'm a goddess when actually I was just born like this in every lifetime. Like, you're not interesting because you think I'm interesting. That doesn't make you interesting. Like, you didn't discover this about me. I discovered this about me. You're just participating in this thing I already know about me. So, since he was doing that and he already was like clearly now disgusted, I really was like, hey, so I need you to really understand that like I was truly sexually abused by my uncle as a child, like on repeat. And that is the part of me that is
No,
like,
no, 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 no. No, that is not what happened. In one of the videos that we had, we don't have it anymore. There is a video of
oh,
Sarah
right, this is why I said that.
playing with her uncle outside
Thank you.
on the beach. And Sarah's a little girl and he's like tossing her in the air. And we don't give any context to this video.
We should
It's
put it
like
back.
pardon?
We should like maybe add that back in.
We should. It's towards the end, and Sarah had already talked about being sexually abused by a family member. So you just suddenly, like, amidst all the show, you suddenly see this video of a little girl playing with an older guy, and it's very unsettling. Most people understand what is happening, and like it's only like a minute, and but it's like it's both like you're like, this is sweet, but it's something is wrong. And
A
that
lot of
is why it
grabbing
is a lot of it's just you can
and
feel in the
throwing of the
energy,
body.
throwing of the body. It's just the
Literally into the
energy
air. He's grabbing my body and throwing me up
throwing
and
it
then
in the
catching
air.
me.
Which again, it could be fun times. It isn't what he's doing, it's the energy
It's the vibe.
behind it. And we should bring it back because it is like this like moment where I feel like the audience is like, "Oh God," And most people really did understand what was happening, but this guy, he was like, I don't understand why you didn't start the whole show with something a little bit more like palatable, like that beautiful video of the little girl playing with her father or the uncle. Why didn't you start it there?" And Sarah was like, "That's a video of my uncle who sexually abused me."
Thank you.
He was like,
That is why I told him that.
and he was like, "Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That changed something because you're right. Because it wasn't just me being like, well, this is the thing that happened. It was in
no,
response to what he said. And I saw something like shift in his eyes where it's like you can always see when someone realizes that they're wrong, but they're not quite
yeah."
to like let go yet. But there's something is a churning in the neural pathways.
Yeah, because I mean, basically, he was saying that like it was too crass and we should have taken the subject more seriously. That was like his horror because he's like, I think rape is really bad. And as like I am down for feedback. I love feedback. I'm not open to like make something better. However, that was not the actual problem. I think what the actual problem was around his own personal self-reflection because the show is asking everyone to self-reflect. And I think that is what is the most triggering about it. It is not that Sarah and I are going around telling these stories in a way that is like some sort of grape porn. It is not. It is really, really not. But it is asking for a certain amount of thought on your own life, on things that have happened to you, on things you've done to others, about institutions, about all of these things. It is asking the audience to reconsider their history. And I think that that made him very uncomfortable, right? So we're in Edinburgh. So let me also say this, okay? Um,
And talk
as
about
you all know,
the newspaper clip. I want you to
okay,
talk
yeah.
about this.
So I am older than Sarah. I am not her mommy, okay, but I am protective because I am older, okay? And the day that we had that show where everyone walked out and we got in trouble and we were the bad girls and stuff, we went out to lunch afterwards and I'm looking at Sarah and like her eyes could not focus. Like she couldn't just like look like a normal person. Her eyes were like darting back and forth. Like I had never seen a person's eyeballs do that. And I was like,
Trauma
what the
response.
fuck is happening? You know? And she was like literally having a trauma response that was like manifesting in her eyes and the inability to just look forward. It was upsetting, you know? And when you care about someone and you're also like, responsible for their well-being in the sense that I was like, hey, let's go to this show about all your traumas and my traumas, babe. You know, like I was like, holy fuck.
Perfect
This is
impression.
this is a perfect impression of me. Yeah. I felt protective, right? So when I went to bed that
Which, let
night.
me interject, I'm not used to feeling that. I am the protector a lot. So I have very few experiences of being protected. Truly.
Mm, yeah.
I
So
can
when
count on
I
one
went to
hand.
bed that night and I woke up and I had like a fire in my ass and I was like, abso-fucking-lutely not, you know? And that was when I messaged this guy and I was like, we're meeting today. Oh, dude, and we forgot to say we went to see his show right beforehand.
Oh, we did go see his show, and I sat there and I did dark spell work the whole fucking time. And he was like fucking up his lines. I have never gone that deep into someone's field for that amount of time. I was like sending him, I was doing some dark magic.
He had a hard show.
We sat there too with our leg, we like man spread just where he could see us. Our legs, and we
No, we were far
fucking,
back. We were far back. He
but my
couldn't
leg was sticking out in the aisle and he could see us.
I don't think he could see us, but he could feel us
He could
watching.
feel us. We were upset.
We were really mad. We were mad. So, okay, before I had gone to Edinburgh, I had been at the Hollywood with Sarah and a friend of a friend who writes for the LA Times wrote an article about the artist coming from Hollywood Fringe going to Edinburgh. And it's in the LA Times and it's a picture of me and my daughter
Iconic.
on the front of the art section of the LA Times. And it's like, it features my work, right? That I am going in this article. And it's like, because, oh yeah, because this other woman had brought a suitcase for me, a suitcase of props because I left them in LA with her. As a friend, she had seen the article and she was like, "Oh my God, that's so cool." So she cut it out and she put it in the bag for me.
Cute.
So I want to be clear, I don't go around with like clippings of articles about myself,
No,
okay?
you should.
That'd be insane.
I love
But
it.
I had this article in the bag, in the prop bag of the Go to Your Womb bag, prop bag, because she had brought it for me, or in the Grape bag. I can't even remember. And so I had this article and I brought it to this meeting. And so we're having this conversation and I slammed the article down on the table and I go, "Who is that?" And they're like, "Well, that's you." And I was like, "Yeah, that's me. I got this article. I had this article written about me. And your name and my name are now intimately connected because of this show. So I am going to talk about this show. How do you want to be talked about when I talk about this show?"
We're still not even saying their names.
I know.
We're waiting
And
for the right moment.
that's when he was like, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can I come back to the show and see it again?" And God is blessed. he did come back to the show to see it
He
again.
brought
And I
sunflowers,
do,
though he did kiss me on the cheek. Strange move.
yeah, but
He tried to
he's
be like
hot. No,
grandpa
just
kissing on the cheek, but upsetting.
yeah, he did.
Don't touch
He
me.
did. But it was interesting because he did come back to the show and it was a reconciliation. So I do think that's really important that we mention it is that like after I did that with the article, he suddenly I think was like I said we're not stopping. That's I remember now. I was like we're not stopping. This is actually just the beginning for us. I forgot I said that.
Yeah, and then you also pointed to our poster and how his name was on the poster next to your name, and you were like, well,
Yeah. So what are we doing?
I wish that had been filmed. Like that, the story is inspiring, but being there in the flesh as this was happening, holy shit.
Yeah, no, it was
It was
exciting.
exciting.
It was exciting because it was just true. It was just the beginning for us.
Yeah,
I do have a big mouth and I am going to continue, you know. Yet at the same time, I do think he was motivated by self-protection
of
to kind
course.
of be like, fuck. However, there was something genuine that did shift. And he did come to the show, and I think he did have a different experience the second time he went, which was he was like actually listening to what the fuck we were saying
Yeah.
rather than being in this like vortex of self-protection. Um,
Like he knew more about grape culture than we did because he also like
I
worked
have to answer this. Hold on.
he also said that he like worked with men in the army and like something about like dealing with rape culture within his job and like how it's like a very serious matter and he basically was just trying to tell us that this is an incredibly serious topic and that we were not taking it seriously enough. And the bare minimum breadcrumbs were for this man to consider listening deeper. And like the fact that that's all he had to do in order to like shift his relational dynamic with us. It just makes me think about like how men doing the literal bare fucking minimum, cis white men doing the bare fucking literal minimum gets them like respect because we did have more respect for him
I
after
did.
that because our expectations and our standards are so
So
fucking low.
low. Yeah, no, I was like, he's great now. I mean, it's so easy for someone to win me back over. It really is. Unfortunately, I have to go in 5 minutes, and I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of,
Well, we need a part two.
yeah, I feel like we have to
We
do a
can do
part
the part
two.
two in Cannonball in Philly because who knows what's about to happen.
No, I have good feelings about
No,
it.
I do too. But there's always like a fun little story.
Yeah, I actually need to have some good times.
Me too, especially because my toe is aching.
Yeah, I feel like if we have to call in that this is our past, not our present or our
Whoa, my
future.
dog is
But
sleeping back there and she's growling in her sleep right now. Are you on it, Soji? She's literally growling in her sleep on that.
um, all right, so let's maybe press pause.
Well, do you want to stitch another episode with this episode?
Oh yeah,
Or do you want to release this episode and then we do another episode, part two?
I can't. You decide.
All right, well, let's just in case we don't stitch it, let's just say goodbye. We may or
Goodbye.
may not stitch this. We'll decide. If you don't hear something happening after this, or you're at the end of the thing, we decided to not stitch it, and there's a part two. Maybe even a part three. We'll see how
Yeah.
it goes. Um, this is just an episode. You have to keep tuning in. This is the Grape Culture Netflix, okay? So thanks for listening. Upcoming show details. And somatic workshop and Patreon shit in the description. Actually, our Patreon is getting an upgrade. We're going to change around the tiers and what we're offering on the Gnarly People Patreon. We will announce that within the next week or so that you know. Let's say within Libra season, which is what we're in now. So within the next moon cycle. Bye,
Okay.
Tony.
Bye.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.